I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. Tonight we're going to talk about transportation and its future in Oregon and what it means to you if you live here or drive here. And you know, spoiler alert, it probably means you're going to pay more, or maybe you'll drive on worse roads, or maybe both, but likely you're going to pay more. The future of transportation funding, that's our big story tonight. Oregon lawmakers last night started a statewide tour, a roadshow, if you will, to try and find out what you voters and taxpayers have to say about our state's roads, and most importantly, what you think about how to pay for them. Last night, the Joint Transportation Committee, made up of Republicans and Democrats, held the first hearing at Portland Community College's Cascade campus. That's on North Killingsworth Street in Portland. They invited public testimony, but first, everyone gathered heard from the director of the Department of Transportation, Chris Strickler. He's been telling anyone who will listen that the agency does not have enough money and needs help. And by the way, anyone includes me. He and I sat down for a one-on-one interview back in March. This is one of the many slides that Strickler showed lawmakers and the audience last night so that they and you can see where the money is going. The column on the left there shows how much is needed for various things, from service functions to safety investments. And then the column on the right shows how much money is actually going into those items. And if you take a look at the bottom right, you're going to see that ODOT is reporting it is short by $1.7 billion.
The gap that we currently experience is 1.7 billion, 1.77. So roughly 2/3 of what we're putting in front of you is a gap. And that is a sign for exactly where we sit in our transportation system and our ability to maintain and keep pace with the needs that Oregonians are looking for.
Well, that's not good. The agency also played this video showing that compared to vehicles from the 90s, cars like this Camry use 25% less gas now, and that does mean less gas tax. They also showed this graphic to demonstrate how the federal gas tax has not kept up with inflation, and they also point out that Oregon's gas tax, which you pay in addition to the federal tax, is also not tied to inflation. So it's not keeping up either. What to do? Well, ODOT does have some ideas.
But the good news is that there are lots of different ways to fund a safe and efficient transportation system. One option would be to expand Oregon's existing pay-per-mile or road usage charge program. It's a modern-day take on the gas tax, in that the more you drive on the road, the more you pay to maintain and improve it. The state could also raise revenue through registration or other vehicle fees, or it could fill the gap with general fund resources. While the gas tax won't last forever, a gas tax increase could cover the costs of maintaining the system in the near term, while we work out how to fund it in the long term. And lastly, indexing these fees to inflation would make sure the system stays funded long into the future. With tough choices ahead, Oregonians will need to decide how much they want to maintain their transportation system and how best to pay for it.
That video courtesy of ODOT. So that is a big reason, in fact, the big reason that lawmakers are holding these hearings now. That video, it's longer than what I showed you, by the way, is going to play at every hearing they hold across the state. And Strickler is going to lead off every meeting explaining the finances. Now, at the same time, lawmakers do actually want to hear from folks about the transportation that they want in their area, and they do invite the public to air their thoughts last night. Hardly anyone talked about how it wants to help with ODOT's budget, by the way.
I just want to take this opportunity tonight to advocate for the community's needs for more access to trails and off-street paths. We need sustainable investment in creating safe and complete streets and off-street paths for our community members. We want to see more policy languages supporting the inclusion of planned bike ped facilities and major capital investment project corridors.
And I would like to voice my opposition to the I-5 widening project. I have lived in this neighborhood my entire life, and throughout my entire life, my family has never been able to afford a car, so even if I wanted to drive anywhere, I wouldn't have the ability. I would like to voice my opposition specifically because, as a member of the African American community in Portland, given the historical context of the fact that many hundreds of African Americans have been displaced by the construction of the I-5, In essence, more freeways, no more black people. I would also like to advocate for public transit alternatives.
All right, so there was some of the testimony. Some of the other testimony from the public supported widening the freeways. Now, that's something that we've heard during the tolling hearings. The big trucks hauling freight through our state are getting jammed up, stuck with traffic gridlocks in the Portland area.
I've been with Old Dominion in Portland for 18 and a half years. During that time, I've watched congestion issues in the metro area, particularly on I-205 and I-5, get worse and worse every year. Both of these highways are key trade routes for our regional and national economies, and I know that tens of millions of dollars regularly pass through these interstate routes. Unfortunately, today, neither route has adequate capacity for our trucks, let alone passenger vehicles, to travel dependably.
And others are frustrated and feel that nobody's paying their fair share to use our roads.
One 2-axle TriMet bus does as much damage to the roads as 1,200 cars. Add the weight of batteries, and electric buses will do even more damage. TriMet fares only cover about 19% of just the operating costs. Transit riders need to help pay for the roads. Furthermore, bicycling is not sustainable until bicyclists accept some accountability and pay for bicycle infrastructure.
So there were lots of different comments last night. When it was over, the lawmakers thanked everyone who came to share their concerns. And today we learned the next stop on their 12-stop roadshow will be June 18th in Tillamook. So get ready for that. Okay, so what's the deal here? Why did we bother to bring you this story tonight? Well, here's my take on this, my opinion, if you will. This is going to be one of the biggest topics we deal with when the legislature meets this coming January. It doesn't matter where you live in Oregon, this is going to affect you. And by the way, they'll probably figure a way to let you folks in Southwest Washington share some of the burden as well. The Department of Transportation is running out of money, and lawmakers are looking for ideas on how to get them more funding. And, you know, it's not like they can go buy some lottery tickets and hope to hit the jackpot. They do need to find something solid, something that's going to work. And that something will most certainly involve you. I think it's interesting that the Joint Committee invites the public to come talk about whatever they want for their local area in terms of transportation. It's nice to have state lawmakers who want to know what you think, and I'm sure the lawmakers did listen to what was said. But in my opinion, the real message here is that's nice that you want those things for your neighborhoods, but we're going to have to increase taxes and fees for you to pay for the stuff that we already do, and then maybe we can talk about the things we want. Don't believe me? That exact same thing happened back in 2017. Lawmakers held 2 road shows before crafting a package of increased taxes and fees to come up with $5.3 billion that could be invested across the state. Now, to do that, they increased the gas tax, the cost of registering your vehicle, and they added a privilege tax on new vehicle purchases because, well, it's a privilege to drive in Oregon, isn't it? They also bumped up the payroll tax to fund more transit, and they approved tolling, which for now is temporarily on hold. Okay, that was 7 years ago, but now they're back at it. And by the way, I don't think that they're trying to be sneaky here. In this release they put out in May, the first bullet point on it says the reason they're doing it is to build public understanding of transportation funding challenges and potential funding tools to address those challenges. So don't kid yourself. That's what this roadshow is really about. And I wish lawmakers on the panel did more than just thank the people who show up to testify. I wish they would explain in detail what, for example, a user fee would mean and how that would work. And I wish that they would roll out the exact details of how vehicle fees could have to go up to help in the shortfall. By the way, did you notice that there was nothing from ODOT about tolling? Yeah, me too. Anyway, lay it all out, then ask the public who are gathered which option they prefer, and then get ready to hear none of it. And I understand why you would say that. A lot of us already feel taxes are too high, services are too low. But I got to tell you, this is a real problem, and it's not going to go away. I think it's responsible on the part of the members of the committee, both Democrats and Republicans, responsible, I say, to travel the state like they're doing. But I also think they need to be more upfront about why they are out there and what's coming. I'm sure I won't like it any more than you will, but I do like it when the roads are plowed in the winter and the highways get new paving and the DMV has enough employees to keep the lines from getting awful and long. And that all takes money. So yeah, something does need to be done. And wishing it weren't so ain't gonna make it go away. So on with the road show and get ready for January. Kind of think it might be a bumpy ride. And while we're on the topic of transportation funding, we're going to stray from our usual Pacific Northwest focus for just a moment. There's huge news out of the state of New York today. Governor Kathy Hochul indefinitely paused a congestion pricing plan that would have been the first of its kind in the nation. The plan, which was years in the making, would have charged most drivers $15 a day to enter Manhattan. The idea, to raise billions of dollars for the transportation authority there and unclog Manhattan streets. License plate scanners were already installed, and this thing was ready to launch at the end of the month until the governor's 11th hour slamming of the brakes.
Implementing the planned congestion pricing system risks too many unintended consequences for New Yorkers at this time. Let's be real. A $15 charge may not seem like a lot to someone who has the means, but it can break the budget of a hard-working or middle-class household.
Governor Hochul cited inflation and the slow pace of New York's post-COVID recovery in Midtown. And while those issues may indeed be relevant, sources tell our affiliate in New York that another key factor, political pressure. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who represents New York's 8th Congressional District, is apparently worried about close elections there. A Jeffries spokesman said the congressman supports this temporary pause of limited duration to better understand the financial impact on working class New Yorkers, which could also be interpreted as saying, you know what, let's just wait until after November when everybody votes. It goes to show that congestion pricing and tolls, both of which were discussed here in Oregon, are political hot potatoes on both coasts, despite the fact that many see them as the future of funding for transportation. Pretty interesting. Coming up next on the story, a controversial law in Washington involving police pursuits has officers frustrated.
I have never seen criminals as emboldened as they are now.
We had to let them go. We couldn't chase them.
They were driving recklessly and doing donuts, but based on current laws, we weren't able to chase them.
But hold on, that all changes tomorrow when a new state law takes effect. New data shows just how many drivers took advantage of that old law. And I gotta tell you, it's likely thousands more than whatever number you're thinking. We'll explain it all when this story returns. Now to a brief update on a story we brought you earlier this week. It involves the old Gordon's Fireplace building in Northeast Portland, just off I-84. Yeah, that one right there. The City Council is thinking about foreclosing on the property to start the long process of cleaning up the building, and we did expect a vote today from the council, but that vote did not happen today. It's now scheduled for next week. We will keep you posted. We talked a lot about transportation in Oregon earlier in the show, and so now we're going to shift to the state of Washington. A controversial state law passed in 2021 that restricted police chases changes tomorrow. And it comes after an investigation found that thousands upon thousands of Washington drivers suspected of crimes failed to stop for police. Taylor Murfandesky has data showing just how bad things were and what changes with this new law.
Head-on collision, dude, was bad.
This is police video
Fire extinguishers over here.
from a fiery eastern Washington crash last year.
Children in the back, 2 of them are unresponsive.
It shook up first responders on the scene and across the state.
Holy shit, it's bad.
A semi-truck driver's camera captured the moment of impact. A driver in a white Mustang went the wrong way on the Sunnyside Highway, hitting a Nissan carrying 3 young foster kids and their 23-year-old caretaker.
We don't have a pulse on.
2 of the 4 Nissan passengers died, an 8-year-old girl and her 6-year-old brother. This man driving the Nissan and a 5-year-old girl survived, and the wrong-way driver, Keith Goings, did too. Here he is talking to police.
I'm so sorry,
stay right
guys.
there, man. Just relax. Oh, what are you sorry about?
All this.
Okay.
This is on me. If I just pulled over, none of it would have happened.
About an hour before this tragedy, records show some of the state troopers here repeatedly tried to prevent it, but they were hampered by limitations brought on by a 2021 state law.
One of our troopers tried to stop him in this area.
State Patrol Sergeant Rob Morris took us to the spot in Ellensburg on I-90 East, where it all began.
This is the spot.
A trooper here clocked Goings speeding at 111 miles per hour, more than 40 miles over the speed limit. But as this dash cam video shows, when the trooper turned on his lights and sirens, Goings didn't stop, he took off.
It's pulling away from me too.
Not once, but 4 times.
Myself watching that, it was frustrating to see our troopers trying to stop this life-endangering violation. 4 different times we tried to stop the vehicle, 4 different times he sped away from us to where we couldn't pursue.
The State Patrol says its troopers couldn't pursue the fleeing driver because his reckless behavior didn't meet the strict police chase criteria set by Washington lawmakers. State legislators passed a controversial law in 2021 that restricted police from chasing suspects in most situations, unless they could meet a high bar that required evidence of certain crimes. It passed because of arguments that police chases did more harm than good, that they were not only dangerous, but they disproportionately targeted people of color.
As a grieving mother, there is my side too. You know, there's the sides of the victims.
Sonia Joseph helped to change the law. Her son Giovanni Joseph McDade was killed in 2017 after a brief chase with Kent police. They were trying to stop him for having expired tabs.
Running away, was that the cause of his death? Could they have mailed him a ticket?
The trooper was behind it.
At the time of the Sunnyside crash,
They let it go after they lit it up.
officers could only pursue suspected drunk drivers, escapees, or those wanted for sexual or violent crimes.
Is this the guy that they were chasing? This is the no pursuit policy.
Police officers across the state have blamed the controversial policy for hampering their ability to fight crime. As they say, more and more people like Goings dodge the cops.
I saw a spike, actually more like a rocket.
Washington State Patrol data shows that pursuits have been steadily going up. In 2020, at its peak, there were more than 1,600. Then, as the law changed and the number of police chases drastically fell, criminals caught on and fled. In a 2.5-year span, the agency recorded drivers fleeing from troopers about 8,000 times.
People were just ignoring the lights. They were just ignoring the sirens. It went from a number so low that we didn't code it to something in the thousands the first year.
Initially, it was shocking.
Trooper John Totillo saw the impact firsthand.
I had it happen numerous times. Every single night on the radio, I heard, had one take off from me. I'm not pursuing, I'm deactivated. It did make our job a lot harder.
Unlike this case in Sunnyside, police say they don't know for sure what happens to most of the drivers who flee.
But how many other tragedies were we not able to avoid?
Assistant Lakewood Police Chief John Umfront wonders the same thing.
Those are people that are escaping justice, because when they take off, it's hard to figure out who's behind the wheel.
Umfront says among criminals, word of the state's pursuit restrictions spread like wildfire.
It emboldened them.
And that made it harder than ever for his officers to catch the people responsible for crimes like car thefts.
Now they had a hard, bright line of, hey, this is a stolen car. I know absolutely that the cops cannot chase me. They were absolutely right. We could not chase them.
In this dash cam video, a Lakewood police officer attempts to stop a person in a stolen car.
Copy. He's slow rolling, so he might be trying to stop here.
But the driver gets away.
Oh my God. And he almost just caused a collision.
Data shows pursuits in Lakewood
Get him, get him, get him, go!
were rare to begin with. But even at this smaller agency, Umfront said he saw a significant jump in the number of drivers who refused to pull over.
It was just way off the charts, and we've never seen that before.
Since July 2021, the agency logged drivers failing to stop on more than 700 occasions.
The Senate Initiative 2113 is declared passed.
This week, a new law goes into effect that rolls back the state's limits on police chases.
I'm going to be in pursuit of a black BMW.
The initiative, approved by the House and Senate in March, allows pursuits when deemed safe, whenever any law is believed to be violated.
I'm excited to be able to, do more within my job.
In Lakewood, Umfront says he's already seen a drop in people fleeing from his officers, and the State Patrol is also bracing for more to pull over.
So we're hopeful that we're going to change driving behavior for the better.
As for Keith Goings,
Right to remain silent. Yeah.
his actions that night cost him a prison sentence of 20 years.
Defendant on plea of guilty.
This is court audio from last fall at his Yakima sentencing hearing, where the mother of the 23-year-old Nissan driver who survived begged for answers.
I just want to know why he chose not to stop. There were so many opportunities for him to stop and avoid this massive hurt.
When the new law goes into effect on Thursday, the State Patrol and Lakewood say they'll loosen their internal pursuit policies to match it. But that doesn't mean their officers will have free rein. They tell us their new policies will require cops and bosses to carefully weigh the value of a pursuit against the potential danger.
All right, thank you, Taylor. Coming up next on The Story, we talk a lot about the arts in downtown Portland. For some organizations, it's been a real struggle since the pandemic. But one group is celebrating its best season ever this year, giving credit to the revitalization of downtown. We'll explain when The Story returns. This week, the Oregon Ballet Theater, or OBT, will perform its final show of the season. Of what a season it has been. They tell us more people attended their shows this season than any other in the group's 35-year history. Really? They had 92,000 audience attendees and $4.7 million in ticket sales. Those numbers beat their second best season of 2017 by 7,000 and more attendees and $1 million more in sales. And they're crediting the revitalization of downtown Portland for bringing more people to their shows, especially those who missed the arts.
It doesn't mean we're out of the woods. We're still rebuilding, but this is certainly a win for us, and we're thrilled about it. There just seems to be a lot of sense of hope and momentum that something special is happening at the ballet, and people want to be part of it.
Yeah, I believe in Portland 110%. Absolutely believe in Portland, and I want to be part of the change. And so that's one of the reasons why I work at Oregon Ballet Theater.
All right, we don't get to tell stories like this very often. The group says since the pandemic, audience tastes have kind of shifted. They're seeking what's familiar. That's why OBT focused this season on classics like Swan Lake, Peter Pan, and their annual run of the Nutcracker. As for OBT's anchor stage at Keller Auditorium, its future still kind of up in the air. The city is currently deciding whether to rebuild it or build a new theater, either at PSU or the Lloyd Center. OBT says they're not going to endorse any one proposal right now. I'm actually working on a story right now, looking at the different proposals on the table and what each would mean. We're hoping to bring that to you early next week, so stay tuned. Monday, Tuesday, something like that. In the meantime, that's the end of our show. Thank you so much for watching. And remember the story, our collective story? Well, that never ends. The good stuff's coming your way next, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow night at 6:30. Here's a look at our control room on the way out and then to the coast. Good night.